In the heart of northwest Arkansas, nestled within the Ozarks, lies the quiet city of Taneytown. On what seemed like an ordinary day, Police Chief Jennison and his officers were about to face one of the most dangerous pursuits of their careers. The call came through dispatch, a stolen U-Haul van barreling eastbound on Highway 412, heading straight toward their jurisdiction. Chief Jennison didn't hesitate. Years of experience told him this wasn't going to end peacefully. Quote, "We went out as far west as we could and set up," end quote, the chief recalled. Alongside Officer Calico and other team members, they positioned themselves at the western city limits, waiting for the approaching threat. Then they saw it. The massive white van appeared in the distance, and the adrenaline kicked in immediately. Quote, "It's sort of an adrenaline rush," end quote, one officer remembered. Quote, "Then when you finally see it and get into the pursuit, it's almost like a high," end quote. The chase exploded into action. Multiple patrol vehicles from Benton County joined the pursuit as the stolen van accelerated to 90 miles per hour. The van's driver showed no regard for human life, weaving recklessly into oncoming traffic, forcing civilian vehicles off the road. Officers watching the pursuit unfold felt their hearts race. Given the speed and the vehicle's erratic movements, one wrong turn could result in a devastating collision with an innocent family. They needed to stop this threat, and they needed to do it fast. Chief Jennison understood the gravity of the situation. At that speed, in a vehicle that large, the driver was essentially piloting a missile on wheels through populated areas. Every second increased the danger to the community they'd sworn to protect. The officers attempted a tactical vehicle intervention, known as a TVI. The maneuver requires precision. Position your front bumper against the rear quarter panel of the target vehicle, then accelerate while turning slightly inward. Done correctly, it causes the suspect vehicle to lose control and spin out. But the first attempt failed. The van's driver anticipated the move and accelerated hard, pulling away from the pursuing officers. Frustration mounted as the chase continued through busy intersections and crowded roadways. Then, a state trooper appeared from the opposite direction. In a split-second decision, he clipped the van's rear bumper, forcing it to veer sharply southbound onto Industrial Road. For a moment, it seemed the pursuit might end. The van careened into a parking lot, officers converging from multiple directions. Quote, "TVI, do not rush the vehicle," end quote. Someone shouted over the radio. Officers held their positions, preparing for the suspects to surrender. But instead of stopping, the driver found an exit. The van burst back onto the roadway, escaping the trap. Quote, "We were all frustrated in that moment," end quote, Chief Jennison later admitted. The dangerous chase was far from over. As the van rejoined Highway 412 heading northbound, multiple officers jockeyed for position. The pursuit now involved nearly a dozen patrol vehicles, all traveling at high speeds in close formation. One mistake by anyone could trigger a catastrophic chain reaction. Chief Jennison radioed to the lead vehicle, requesting to take point. His years of training and experience in high-speed pursuits made him uniquely qualified for this moment. He was a street cop at heart, someone who wanted to be on the front lines, getting the bad guy alongside his team. Taking the lead position, Chief Jennison closed the distance behind the van. His mind raced through scenarios, searching for any opportunity to safely end this threat. Traffic remained heavy, limiting his options, but he knew that window of opportunity would come. He just had to be ready. Ahead, a massive tanker truck appeared in their path. Both the chief and the van were approaching it rapidly, the gap between them shrinking by the second. Officers watching from behind held their breath. This could turn deadly in an instant. Chief Jennison had to make a split-second choice. He broke contact momentarily, passing on one side of the tanker while the van swerved around the opposite side. They emerged on the other side and immediately closed the gap again, the pursuit continuing without interruption. The coordination required was extraordinary. Quote, "There's so many units and everybody's following so close and fast that if one messes up, everybody's gonna mess up," end quote, one officer observed. The margin for error had disappeared completely. Then Chief Jennison saw it. A brief break in traffic. It might be their only chance. He began positioning his patrol vehicle, lining up for another TVI attempt. This had to work. The alternative was unthinkable. Quote, "TVI, TVI, TVI," end quote, came the call over the radio. Chief Jennison executed the maneuver perfectly, his bumper making contact with the van's rear quarter panel. The large vehicle immediately began to spin out of control. But something went wrong. As the van rotated, its bumper caught the chief's patrol car. Instead of breaking free, the two vehicles became entangled. Chief Jennison's car was pulled, along with the spinning van, both vehicles careening wildly across the highway. Quote, "Roll over, roll over, roll over," end quote. Officers screamed into their radios as they watched in horror. Chief Jennison's patrol car lifted off the ground, tumbling through the air in what seemed like slow motion to those witnessing it unfold. Inside the vehicle, the chief felt weightless. He immediately understood the severity of what was happening. Quote, "I felt weightless and immediately knew that I was about to have a pretty significant accident," end quote. He later recalled. Time seemed to stretch as his car rotated midair. The patrol car crashed back down onto all four wheels with tremendous force. Quote, "That was the hardest impact that I'd felt," end quote, Chief Jennison said. The windshield completely shattered from the impact, glass exploding inward. Steam hissed from the damaged engine. Officers racing behind the crash felt their hearts drop. From a distance, the wreck looked catastrophic. One officer thought to himself, quote, "How's he gonna make it through that?" end quote. The crash appeared unsurvivable. But there wasn't time to stop and help. The van had also spun out but remained mobile. Officers had to stay focused on the immediate threat. The suspects were still dangerous, still capable of causing more harm. The pursuit had to continue. One officer made a decisive choice. He positioned his patrol car directly in the van's path and let it collide with him intentionally. The impact rattled him severely and pinned his driver's side door shut, but the van was finally stopped. The chase was over. Quote, get him out, end quote. Officers shouted as they surrounded the disabled van. Their biggest fear was that the suspects possessed weapons and might try to engage in a firefight. Tensions ran extremely high as they gave verbal commands. The passenger door opened, and one suspect emerged with his hands raised. Officers quickly secured him and pulled him away from the vehicle, but the driver remained inside, refusing to comply with orders to exit. Officers couldn't see clearly inside the van. They didn't know if the driver was armed or preparing to attack. The situation remained volatile and unpredictable. They needed to act decisively but carefully. One officer retrieved his JPX launcher, a less lethal weapon that fires projectiles filled with pepper spray. The chemical agent causes severe disorientation, affecting vision and breathing, making it difficult for suspects to resist arrest. Quote, "We told him. We gave him verbal commands to go to the back of the vehicle and exit through the doors," end quote, the officer explained. They were giving the driver every opportunity to surrender peacefully before escalating their response. Then something remarkable happened. Officers near the back of the van suddenly saw a familiar figure approaching. It was Chief Jennison. Minutes after his devastating crash, after tumbling through the air in his patrol car, he had somehow freed himself and rejoined his team. Quote, "Last time I seen Chief, he was hurtling through the air rolling, and the next time I see him, he is back there with us. It's pretty unbelievable," end quote, one officer marveled. The chief had managed to pry open his damaged door and immediately returned to help his officers. Even after surviving a crash that severe, Chief Jennison's first instinct wasn't to wait for medical attention. It was to ensure his team successfully apprehended the suspects, and that no one else got hurt. His actions spoke volumes about his character and dedication. With additional officers in position, they finally convinced the driver to exit through the rear doors. Both suspects were taken into custody without further incident. The dangerous pursuit that had endangered countless lives across multiple jurisdictions was finally over. The suspects were identified as 21-year-old Corey Mercier, the driver, and 21-year-old Trenton Johnson, the passenger. But the question remained, why had they run so desperately? What were they trying to hide? Officers began searching the van for evidence. What they discovered was deeply disturbing. Quote, "I located at least one firearm," end quote, an officer reported. But there was more, something even more concerning hidden inside. Quote, "I located what I believe to be Molotov cocktails as well," end quote, the officer continued. Glass bottles with rags inserted into the necks, the classic design for homemade incendiary devices. While they weren't yet filled with flammable liquid, the intent was clear. The discovery raised chilling questions. What were two young men doing with materials for Molotov cocktails? What had they been planning? The only purpose for such devices is to start fires, potentially to cause serious destruction or harm to others. Both Mercier and Johnson faced serious state charges, including criminal possession of explosives and fleeing with a vehicle while creating substantial danger of death. The legal proceedings continue as the justice system works to hold them accountable for their reckless actions. Later, when the adrenaline finally subsided, Chief Jennison walked back to examine his patrol car. Seeing the extensive damage in the calm aftermath drove home just how close he'd come to disaster. The vehicle was completely destroyed. Quote, "I'm definitely thankful that God allowed me through that without any injury," end quote. Chief Jennison reflected. His survival seemed miraculous given the violence of the crash. But he didn't dwell on what could have happened. That wasn't his nature. His officers saw something profound in his actions that day. Quote, "Chief's leadership is second to none," end quote, one team member said. Quote, "He showed that no matter what happens, he will always be there with his guys to make sure that we are okay," end quote. In Tawny Town, a small community in the Ozarks, Chief Jennison had demonstrated what true leadership looks like under pressure. He'd put himself in harm's way to protect his community, survived a devastating crash, and immediately returned to support his team. His dedication to service and his people defined everything about that harrowing day. The pursuit of the stolen U-Haul became more than just another case file. It became a testament to the courage and commitment of law enforcement officers who face danger daily to keep their communities safe. And it showed that sometimes, the most important moments in policing aren't about the arrests made, but about the character revealed when everything is on the line.